It's been 2 weeks since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, and the majority of Americans are still up in arms about the decision. Now, House Democrats are trying to find ways to help women navigate the new restrictions on their reproductive health. Last year, California Representative Judy Chu introduced a Women's Health Protection Act, which would codify abortion rights into law. It passed in the House, what, of course, was blocked in the Senate. Now, Chu is hoping to bring the bill to the House floor again with some additional measures, one that would ensure the data privacy of those who use third-party apps to track menstruation and fertility, and one that would ensure patients' right to cross state lines for abortion procedures. And joining me now is Representative Judy Chu. Representative Chu, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So the Women's Health Protection Act passed in the House last year, but was blocked in the Senate. Why do you think you might have a better outcome in the Senate this time around?
Well, first of all, it's so important to send a message to the women of America right now that their Congress members stand behind them. So when we come back next week, we are going to have another vote on my bill, the Women's Health Protection Act, and we are going to have a couple of other measures, one that would guarantee women's ability to cross state lines, and the other to ensure data privacy for those who use third-party apps on menstruation and so forth. These would be a package of bills that would ensure the women of America that their Congress member stands behind them. But also it's a signal to those who do not vote for this as to who does not support women's right to abortion, which has been in this country for 50 years.
And what's interesting about that, Representative Chu, is that a lot of Americans gave Democrats the White House, the Senate, and they're wondering after this Supreme Court decision, what can Congress do when the votes don't exist in the Senate?
Now, I want to remind people, though, that the vote in the Senate was very close. It was 49 to 51. So we could win that vote with 2 more votes that would eliminate the filibuster. The problem right now is that the Senate requires 60 votes for any bill that goes through. But if there were at least 2 more senators that would eliminate the filibuster, we could pass this with a majority vote of 50 plus 1. And so, for one thing, I do want to point out that there are 2 so-called pro-choice Republicans that they support Roe versus Wade. I would urge them to vote for this and do the right thing. But also, actually, in the November elections, there are Democratic candidates for senator that have said that they will eliminate the filibuster and vote for the Women's Health Protection Act. If we get them elected, yes, we can get the Women's Health Protection Act passed by the Senate and then signed into law.
So President Biden has publicly condemned the Supreme Court decision and has said he will do what he can to help women, but he's gotten a lot of criticism for not taking any action. And he said recently in the New York Times, quote, "The only way we can secure a woman's right to choose and the balance that existed is for Congress to restore the protections of Roe v. Wade as federal law. No executive action from a president can do that." A lot of voters out there, Representative Chu, will read that quote or will listen to the president and say, but you should take the steps anyway. And if Republicans decide to file suit, then fight it in court. But voters want to see something coming from the president.
Well, I do have to say that President Biden has taken steps to make the situation better, even prior to this decision. For instance, he allowed for women to get medication abortions by having a telehealth appointment rather than in person. Remember that half of all the abortions are medication abortions. He also eliminated the doctor's gag rule, which prevented them from being able to talk about abortion. But today, I think there are things that he can do. And actually, I think the administration is talking about this, which is that there should be the right to medication abortion upheld across every single state, because that is an FDA decision. And states should not have the ability to overrule any FDA decision about what drug is accessible and okay for people to use. So that can be done. and it would guarantee that half of all abortions could still continue to proceed.
So you mentioned the filibuster. For the first time, the president actually stated that he was open to getting rid of it in order to codify Roe. But you still have two senators that are problematic, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, who for the most part have stated we're not open to this. So do you think the president can somehow get those two on board?
So this is why I talk about electing two more Democratic senators who are for eliminating the filibuster and for the Women's Health Protection Act. For instance, John Fetterman in Pennsylvania and Mandela Barnes in Wisconsin have actually said that they would be for eliminating the filibuster and for the Women's Health Protection Act. So there are possibilities. This is why we are saying that we have to march to the polls in November, and we have to make sure that those elected representatives support women's right to an abortion. And there are some concrete steps that would actually produce results, and that is electing these two who could drastically change the outcome of the Senate vote.
Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.